You guys ready?
Yep.
Meow. Very Joe Rogan-esque.
Just stealing Joe.
Yeah, we're live. The Cobra Den MMA Podcast, episode 3. What's 3 in Spanish, Lyle?
Why are you asking me?
I don't know.
Trace.
Trace. All right. Episode Trace. UFC on Fox 7 this weekend. We have some huge fight announcements that's happened over this last week. Also, we're going to talk about the brand new UFC Top 10 system, which is kind of interesting. Cyborg asked to leave Zuffa and being granted that permission. Also, we could talk about some Randy Couture and Ryan Couture and Dana White drama, and also the Ultimate Fighter. Thank you all for tuning in. We are on iTunes, but if you want to listen to an up-to-date podcast, do not go on iTunes because they don't really care about us, and it takes them like 6 days to update our podcast. We're also on Stitcher Radio app. If you got like a Samsung or an iPhone, you can download that app, and they're actually super quick in getting our podcast up to date. Also, check us out on Facebook. We're almost at 200 likes. This is huge for us. And we're on Twitter at The Cobra Den. And also, what else? We got a website, thecobradenpodcast.com.
Twitter?
And I said Twitter, at The Cobra, yeah. thecobradenpodcast.com. If you click on the sponsors link, there's a little Amazon box that sometimes works, sometimes doesn't work. If you're lucky and it's working, click on it, buy shit, and we get a little bit of money. And it actually will go and help this podcast because I didn't realize how expensive a podcast is. And
it's a lot more expensive than we originally thought.
yeah, I thought this would be free, and I've maxed out my credit card because of it. Anyways, let's get this going. UFC on Fox 7. Let's talk about the main event. Lyle, who do we got?
All right, so coming up, we got the big fight coming up between Barrow and McDonald as the headliner. We got Swanson versus Poirier. We got Jimmy Manawa is coming up with his second UFC fight up against Cyril Diabetes. We got Nielsen and Santiago. Oh, Gunner. That guy's crazy. We got Tahuna, and we got Jimmo. We got Mills versus Riddle. We got Edom versus Fort. We got Paul Sass versus Castillo. We got Ogle versus Grisby. Watson versus Nedkov. Lee versus Tezuka. Harris versus Gomez.
So a pretty stacked free card. And main event, Michael McDonald. Now, okay, before we go into this, I'd like to I forgot to tell you guys this in the car. Super pumped about it. But Michael McDonald, 6-0 fighter in Gladiator Challenge. Did you know that?
It
used to be the Bantamweight Gladiator Challenge champion.
Wow.
Now, if you guys remember, a couple months ago, your old friend PJ got offered a fight for Gladiator Challenge, correct?
Yeah,
yes.
that's right.
Well, now I am in talks of taking that fight for June.
Really?
Yeah, which is
awesome.
kind of exciting. I did forget to tell you guys, but Grant, our coach, Mark Loft, and Jay Davies think it's time for me to go pro. Only did a little bit of begging on my part. So that's going to be a huge step up for me. And you know what? Maybe I can be a Bantamweight Gladiator Challenge and then be the next future Michael McDonald because he was their Bantamweight champion.
Maybe Michael McDonald could be the next future PJ St.
Yeah,
Marie.
maybe. That's not here or there, but McDonald taking on Hennebrau. Hennebrau hasn't lost in 27 or odd fights. His last fight against Uriah Faber, he didn't look, too impressive. Like, yeah, he beat up Uriah Faber pretty easily, but not like in his past fights. Who you got on this one?
I don't know. Everybody criticizes that fight and Hennebrau's performance in it, but Dana White put it best. When you're in there fighting the top of the line elite guys, you can't make every victory look as spectacular as like an Anderson Silva knockout.
You're 100% right on that, and but Hennebrau, I think the winner of this fight, if they ever do end up meeting Dominic Cruz, if he comes back, I think easily both of them will beat Dominic Cruz. I think this is for the true Bantamweight Championship. I think you need to scratch out that interim word in front. Faber hasn't defended it since Demetrius Johnson in October of 2011. Johnson has fought 3-4 times since, won a title, and defended it since.
Yeah. Well, I was actually just watching there's a press conference today for the fights coming up this weekend, and the one thing that they kept asking Dana over and over again was, are you going to strip him of the title? Are you going to strip him of the title? Like, this is looking more and more like the actual title kind of thing. The thing that Dana kept saying over and over again was that he's never going to take a title from someone. If he's still going to be injured and out for the next little while, he's going to urge him to retire because, it's been a little too long. You go 3 years without fighting, you should probably retire.
It's tough to come back, for sure.
Right? And so Dana's saying that he's not, it'll be the interim title until he comes back or retires.
Yeah, the way he looks at it, you got to beat the guy that beat the guy.
I guess so. Co-main event. Let's move on because there's. Well, I guess we could stay on that topic a little bit. Grant, you're taking Barrow?
No, man. I'm going for McDonald in this one, man.
Lyle, you're taking McDonald as well?
I'm gonna say I would like to see McDonald take it just because he's a young guy and he's kind of the underdog. If you look at the history between each fighter's history, I guess Burrow's fought a lot heavier and higher fighters, or bigger name fighters. So I think Barrow probably is going to take it.
I got to give it to McDonald. The guy seems to impress me every time he steps in that cage. Like last fight, I was like, he's not going to beat Miguel Torres, and he knocked him out cold.
Yeah, he did.
He knocked him out. So, and who's really knocked out Miguel Torres?
Hey,
not a lot of big names. That's not true.
Let me make it clear that I would never place a bet against Michael McDonald.
So I'm excited. I got to give it to Michael, though, for this one. Co-main event is the fight that I want to talk about. Cub Swanson versus Dustin the Diamond Poirier.
And this is this wasn't the original lineup. This wasn't Cub Swanson. I can't remember who was he supposed to fight originally, and the guy got injured.
And they switched it for Dustin Poirier, and it was such a 10 times more exciting fight. Yeah, I do forget the name who he was supposed to fight, but that doesn't matter anymore. It's Dustin Poirier. He's stepping in an octagon against.
Yep.
Grant, I got to take a wild guess. You're going with Poirier on this one.
Oh, man, this is a tough one to call. Like, I want to go with Poirier, but Cub Swanson's been putting on such an incredible streak lately. Like, his past 3 victories are just phenomenal.
He dominated Ross Pearson, for sure.
Dude, each time he gets out there, it looks like he's somehow, like, putting more impressive, strikes and combinations together and really more fully implementing his game plan and executing it. Like, Ross Pearson was crazy, but who else did we have in there?
He just defeated Charles Oliveira.
Charles Oliveira, there was another
with that freaky knockout.
Yeah.
And he had one in between there as well. But, he's been on tear recently for sure.
Dennis Seaver. That's who I'm thinking of, right?
I know it was a good...
So you're both going with Swanson. I got to go with the Diamond.
I got to go with Swanson for sure,
The Diamond is, he... looked super impressive in his last performance. 2 performances ago, he had a tough loss against the Korean Zombie, who we brought up on all 3 podcasts, yet hasn't fought since May. Yeah. We love the Zombie. But I got to give it to Poirier, mainly because I know more about Poirier than I do know about Cub Swanson. That documentary, Fightville.
Good documentary.
Yeah, I never really knew much about Poirier up until then, but, seeing his work ethic, seeing from what a small gym he's come from, he's very... smart when it comes to fighting, and I just know more about him. But I gotta give it to. I think the Poirier is gonna win it this weekend.
Yeah, he's tough as nails, man. It's gonna be a barn burner for sure. It's gonna be one hell of a fight.
That's gonna be a hell of a fight for sure.
Fight number tres.
We got Jimmy Manawa versus
that's a very terrible Spanish word.
Diabetes.
Oh my God!
I am so excited for this fight. I don't know if you guys have seen much of Jimmy Manawa.
I've seen a little bit of him.
Right before his first fight against Kyle Kingsbury in the UFC, his last fight. I had read an article talking about how this guy's just been tearing through the UK circuit and just knocking people out viciously left, right, and center. So I looked up some of his stuff, and I was really excited to see him come fight. And then he gets decimated Kyle Kingsbury. And I mean, Cyril Diabetes, holy cow, like a veteran of the sport. I mean,
like 22 years in the fight game, and Cyril Diabetes. He's fought Shogun, like he's fought the who's who.
Yeah, and he's been looking really good recently.
Both not household names, yet so high on such a great card. This is really where they're going to make their name turn into a household name for sure. Like, if you had said either of these names to me, it wouldn't click in right away.
Really?
Yeah.
Cyril Diabetes? He was back in Pride and everything.
Mm-hmm.
I forgot things. I get punched in the head a lot.
Fair enough. Cyril Diabetes has been a pretty big name in the MMA world for a little while, but this Jimmy Manawa, they've actually been trying to promote him bigger and bigger. Like they're really.
I do remember his because he did to Kyle Kingsbury Yeah, it looked like Kyle Kingsbury just had surgery on his face.
Outside of Kyle Kingsbury, though, like, I haven't even seen any of his other fights. Like, I don't know. I saw him at the weigh-ins, though, and he's got, like, the scariest fucking look on his face all the time. No, seriously, you should have seen him at the weigh-ins. It was
the press conference.
the press conference. Yeah, my bad. The press conference. Yeah, like, the whole time, he was just, like, an emotionless cask.
Yeah.
Like,
he was, like, trying to smile sometimes, but that would just frustrate him or something.
yeah, and he'd just stare off into an abyss of hate. It was...
Yeah. He's a cool... I'm really excited to see what he can do against a higher named fighter. I mean, Kyle Kingsbury, a good fighter and all, but, I mean, he's not cream of the crop or anything, and... I'd like to see what he does against a veteran of the sport that's primarily a striking. I mean, this is going to be...
Yeah, he's undefeated, so...
These top three fights on here, I mean, they're all going to be, as far as I can tell, probably going to be mostly stand-up wars, and man, I'm so excited for him.
Yeah.
And this one, I'm going to go with Jimmy Manuwa. I'm going to go behind the hype. I'm going to jump on the hype train on that one.
Yeah?
Yeah. Oh, I got to give it with Manuwa as well. I've only seen him fight one time, but it was an impressive win. And Kingsbury remembers it for sure. So,
or maybe he doesn't.
Yeah.
Oh, man. I don't know. See, I want to jump on the hype train, too, but I haven't seen near enough of his stuff.
12-0 is a very impressive number. So
yeah,
got to give it to him.
Pretty impressive number. You know what? I'm just going to be the oddball out just to piss you guys off. I'm going to go with Cyril W.
You can rub it in on Saturday night. Fight number 4 on the card. Interesting fight.
Oh, man. Again, this card is so amazing. We got
Nelson.
Nelson. And then Santiago.
Speaking of an emotionalist
George
cast.
Santiago. Now, this is a very good story because George, Senguko champion, fought in Strikeforce, comes in the UFC to take on Brian Stan, the American. Gets knocked out. Not a very good performance on his part.
No.
And then gets thrown Damian Maia. And, George Santiago, a BJJ black belt, gets toyed around with Damian Maia, gets cut from the UFC. Hasn't fought since, back in the UFC, but he's down at 170. He's another one who's made the drop from 185 to 170.
That's becoming the trend.
Yes. Now,
go smaller.
UFC giving him another chance, giving him a third fight in the UFC. I'm giving it to George Santiago because, I think he's a more all-around fighter. Like, Senguku is not a joke promotion whatsoever, and he was the champ at 185. Him at 170 is going to be huge. He's great in BJJ. Damian Maia wanted to submit him and couldn't submit him.
Do you remember? We're gonna look a little ways back here, but this is living back in when we lived in Belleville. We were watching. I believe it was the Fedor versus Andrei Arlovsky.
Oh, yeah.
And I just remember, like, the one thing we were all commenting on repeatedly was Fedor's look. You know, Fedor has this look when he comes out, and you can tell he's going to win because he's just got this, like, emotionless, like, you know, if anyone stepped in front of him at that point, he wouldn't even flinch. He would just kill him, you know? It's that kind of look. Gunnar Nelson always has that look. Do you remember his last win in the UFC? Then Joe Rogan tried to interview him, and he just had no emotion or any response.
He beat a very tough DeMarcus Johnson. DeMarcus Johnson's an amazing fighter, and this guy toyed with DeMarcus Johnson.
Toyed with him, like, because he's on another level on the ground. Like, he's no Damian Maia, but I think he's one of MMA's greatest grapplers coming in, and he's
10-0-1 in MMA. Another huge statistic. Being 10-0-1 in pro MMA nowadays is not an easy accomplishment.
Yeah, that's unheard of almost.
Yeah, and then not to celebrate it after, you know.
Yeah, he's just like, another day at the office.
Yeah.
So, what's the final verdict? Grant, Lau, who are you going with?
Gunnar for sure.
Gunnar?
Yeah, Gunnar.
All right, I'm taking the BJJ guy, the Brazilian. I think we've had this argument before, but I gotta stick with Santiago. Moving on.
I feel like Dana White because I'm gonna say it again. I'm so excited for this fight. It's the best fight. We got James Tahuna versus Jimmo. How awesome is it that Jimmo's about to fight in the UFC for us again? I'm always a little bit biased. Like, you have your Brazilian fighters. I'm really biased about my Canadian fighters. A Canadian fighter steps in the octagon, I'm cheering for him. And last time Jimmo did that, he tied the record for knocking someone out.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, that's right. I forgot about that.
Yeah.
He's a beast. He fought it was for the MFC, I think, before he joined the UFC, right? Isn't that a promotion based out west? And he was just clobbering people out there.
It's clobbering time.
All I saw was highlights, but no, he's riding some momentum too, and I think his opponent's definitely going to have his hands full. But I don't know much about the other guy, so.
James DeHuna.
Yeah.
James DeHuna has been, he's actually starting to get a bit more of a name for himself in the UFC recently. He's a fairly good striker. He's a bit of a brute brawler guy. Who was his last fight there? He was fighting.
We can look it up.
Yeah,
we
you're looking it up there. He's on
full profile.
But anyway, no, he's been looking really good recently. I think that's going to be another really good stand-up war.
Looks like a big lad.
Yeah, he's a tank of a human being. He reminds me of like a
Joey Beltran. He defeated Joey Beltran.
Yeah, that's who it was.
The Mexicutioner.
It was an absolute dog fight. And he was just, he came out on top. And he's been looking real good. I've been real impressed with him. He's one of those guys who just stands and bangs. He just goes to war.
He's beaten a lot of, just looking at his record right here, he's beaten a lot of huge names in the UFC. Aaron Rosa, another big 205er. He beat Ricardo Riomo. He also beat Igor Porajek, however you say his name.
Pekrajic?
Thank you.
Pekrajic? Yeah,
remember, this whole podcast is, you guys are here to correct my butchering of people's names, but his only loss so far in the UFC is to the future 205 champion Alexander Gustafsson. Gotta give it to Gustafsson. I think he's the future champ. You're hearing it right here on the Cobra Den.
Yeah, I'll agree with you there. I think I think he beats Jones. But anyway, more importantly, we're going back to DeHuna and Jimmo, and really, like I said, I'm really excited about this one. They're both obviously stand-up guys. Jimmo just knocks someone out in like 7 seconds. DeHuna stands up and just trades. We're going to see another really good stand-up war between two big guys, and I'm voting for the Canadian.
Canadian. We got to go. We all have to go with the Canadian. It's only fair. Next on the docket,
we got Che Mills versus Matt Riddle. This one's actually a really interesting fight. I want to talking about looking at the conference there. Today at the conference, they were highlighting that one of the fans, they've been so rowdy because Matt Riddle has been riling up the British fans. Just like, while he's been there, he's been like calling out literally like every single...
That doesn't sound like Matt Riddle whatsoever.
He's been like calling out like literally every single British fighter and stuff. So apparently someone from, I believe it was Manchester, or maybe it was from London, but while he was touring around, managed to catch up to him and spit in his mouth.
Ew.
Yeah.
Gross.
So the English fans are pretty peeved with Riddle, and they love Mills, so it's going to be it should be a good little fight. Riddle promises to stand up and trade, and when Riddle does that, he gets fight of the night.
I think Riddle is one of the most exciting fighters in the UFC for sure. And his last fight was a unanimous win in Montreal, Quebec. He took that on short notice. His fight before that, Chris Clemente, he did that amazing standing submission, arm triangle, and then gets popped for marijuana, turns into a no contest, which is a shame. I lost a few fights. He lost to Sean Pearson in that one fight where it was like the worst striking in the world at UFC 129 in Toronto. But coming like in the Ultimate Fighter, a lot of people have been talking, especially last week with that huge spinning back kick KO, saying that this is the best knockout in Ultimate Fighter history. I saw a few people on Facebook going, well, don't you forget Matt Riddle, posting a video of Matt Riddle in the Ultimate Fighter knocking some guy out, breaking his jaw with one punch in the first 5 seconds. So Matt Riddle's a scary beast, and I'm not a huge fan of Che Mills. He got destroyed by Roy McDonald, but who hasn't been destroyed by Roy McDonald in recent times? And he just seems like another Brit that is hyped up a lot, but hasn't really shown anything to me yet. That's my personal opinion.
Yeah. And the other thing too, it still really shows the British fans were also at the conference. Were also really getting on him about you shouldn't take it down, stand up, be a man, and trade, blah blah blah. And Matt Riddle's sitting there going, "Well, guys, it's an MMA fight. If I feel the need to take him down, I'm going to take him down. That's the way it goes." And I think that really shows with the British fighters, especially with Che Mills. You look at it like the Rory McDonald fight. He held his own standing with Rory. He did decently there. But as soon as he went to the ground, he was screwed. Mm-hmm. And that's what we see from British fighter after British fighter.
Yeah, he decimated former kickboxing champ, Dwayne Ludwig, before Ludwig went down with an injury. But, that was an impressive fight for him, but he got dismantled by Rory. On that topic of that, if Matt Riddle wants to take it down, it is MMA. And that's what makes it exciting, because if it wasn't MMA, you'd have these kickboxers or boxers coming in and winning the championships, but they're not because it's MMA. It's not kickboxing. Like, especially coming, Grant would know this really well, but sparring. When you're sparring with someone, it changes the game when it goes from Thai kickboxing to MMA.
Oh, totally.
You could both be standing the entire time in both matches, but it changes the way you're standing because you're a little bit more hesitant that you could be taken down. There's another option. So I agree 100%. If Shea Mills has a problem with it going to the ground, and if the British fans have a problem with it going to the ground, then they need to stop watching MMA.
Yeah.
And for all you fans out there that hate it going to the ground, well, suck it. Start watching a different fucking sport. Because I like jiu-jitsu.
We'll take some jiu-jitsu classes.
Yeah, jiu-jitsu. You know what? Watch one UFC and then you'll become a black belt. It's true, yeah. That's what the Gracies are doing. They're giving away black belts in cereal boxes.
All right.
I'm lying.
But, so, basically, I'm looking at that fight. I'm comparing their last few fights. Riddle's the more all-around fighter. He says he'll try to make it standing and go to another fight of the night war with Shea Mills. I see that going like that for a little bit, and then Shea Mills probably clips him. Riddle takes him down. Riddle wins the fight by decision.
All right, Riddle. Grant, who are you taking?
Riddle.
I'm taking Riddle. Screw you, Shea Mills. I don't care if you're on home turf. We don't like the Brits here. Moving on.
Speaking of spinning back kicks. Terry Edom versus Forte there.
Terry Edom. Now, he's not known for being very good at spinning back kicks, is he? No, he's known for looking awesome when he gets knocked out by a spinning back kick.
Yeah.
He was the victim of Edson Barbosa's spinning heel kick in Brazil. Last fight that he had over a year ago, getting knocked out from Edson Barbosa, and you just looking at that statistic alone, I got to give it to the other guy, not knowing a lot. And not because he just got knocked out, but he just had the worst knockout of, pretty much not of all time, but, that is something damaging. Rampage said it best one time when he fought Lyoto Machida that, Lyoto Machida is a hesitant fighter already, and he just is coming off a knockout. He's going to be even more a little hesitant. This Terry Edom guy hasn't stepped in the ring since being brutally knocked out. And this is either going to go two ways. He's going to be a little too hesitant, and, he can lose this fight.
Yeah.
Or he can come out as a warrior.
Psychologically, that's going to take a toll on a fighter, I'm sure.
Mm-hmm. It just, not fighting in a whole year, it seems like it's just going to be, again, we're not speaking statistics, we're not really analyzing a fight, but I'm just thinking of a fighter's mindset that, that's going to be on his mind when he steps in that ring, no matter what he tries to do to avoid it, and it's going to be very difficult for him to shake it in the ring.
That being said, Terry Edom is a fantastic kickboxer. I'm to be honest, I don't know a whole lot about his opponent, and I'm gonna have to say that I would give it to Edom on this one. I think he's gonna come back. I think he probably took enough time to get that mental focus back, to get that to get back to a place where he knew that he was ready to fight again. He probably was a little head shy for a little while, and that's probably why he took a bit more time off. I think he'll come back, and I think he'll come back strong.
I like your opinion, sir. I was just putting in my 2 cents of being, what I think what a fighter would, how he would be feeling going in there. Now, on the side note of who he's fighting, doesn't even have a Wikipedia page, so not the hugest name fighter in the world, but again, these are the fights that get surprising. Maybe we'll see another huge spinning heel kick knockout. Could be Terry Edom throwing it, could be him taking it. Grant, who you got on this?
I'm going to have to go with Terry Edom just based on how little I know of the other guy and, how much I've seen of Terry Edom. Terry Edom, vicious knockout, but I don't know. The guy goes in there to fight every time, and it should be a pretty interesting bet.
Do you guys want to take a bet, all podcast listeners right now, that PJ's saying that Terry Edom's going to be too hesitant to, attack on Saturday night? It's going to cost him the fight. He's going to be hesitant.
I wouldn't take a bet. I think that's a very, very plausible possibility.
That's what... all right, we'll see. Paul Sass, Triangle Master.
Versus Danny Castillo.
Yeah. exciting fight. Paul Sass got one of the nastiest guards in MMA. Unfortunately, just got tapped out. But, it's kind of exciting. It's exciting. And I love fighters that are really talented, like Paul Sass, can pretty much do anything off his back and then lose. That's when you see the best fighter come out of them, because that's, he just has experienced his first loss. He's going to come into that ring and be very, very strong, taking on Danny Costello. And Danny's nickname is The Last Call.
I don't know. Not always. That's not always the case. Sometimes fighters can, they'll crumble actually after, a loss sort of thing. What happened to Musamar Falaris?
Yeah.
Musamar Falaris?
Yeah. He lost to Alan Belcher, and then who did he fight after that? Did he?
Yeah, he
just got knocked out by Hector Lombard when he broke his foot.
Right,
you know what?
right.
But Paul Harris has lost to a lot of people in the UFC. That wasn't his first loss. He lost to Dan Henderson.
No, but he was on quite a streak there before he fought Belcher, wasn't he?
Yeah, everyone was pretty scared of him for a little while, and then it just seems like everyone's like, that's Paul Harris now.
Yeah, well, and he also just pissed hot, but...
Yeah, well...
That's
he
gonna
looks
suck.
like he's made out of steroids.
He's always been scary, though, yeah.
Yeah.
It looks like he has, softballs in his shoulders. It's really gross. Anyone knows that... who are we talking about? Tornico is scary, scary man. Fought Dan Henderson after Dan Henderson lost to Anderson Silva. So that's a top name. He was on another tear. If you watch any of the submission of the night, the Ultimate Submission DVDs, Tornico's in it. That's Paul Harris. That's his real name. Is in it 30 times on each DVD just because of his huge ankle locks. Been suspended from the UFC for holding on to an ankle lock too long. ADCCs was amazing. Ankle locked everyone. He's fighting the best BJJ guys in the world and ankle locking them. He's a scary fighter, but I don't know why we're talking about him because he fought a month ago and has a broken foot. We should be talking about Paul Sass. Very exciting fighter coming off his first loss, and I think he's going to look scary. And he's gonna become and pull guard.
Yeah. Danny Castillo, a good fighter. But yeah, I have to agree with you. Paul Sass is every time he's went in there, he's always confused me. Every time I see him go in there, I'm like, this guy's gonna come fight. Who is he? But no, then he goes in there, and as soon as he gets on the ground, he just does work. And I'm gonna say he's gonna submission. He's gonna submit him pretty quickly too, I think.
All right. Paul Sass, triangle.
Paul Sass, sure, triangle.
Danny Costello has been with the Zuffa organization since about 2009. Actually defeated Dustin Poirier in WEC. His only 2 losses in the UFC are to Jacob Volkman, who's very good, and Michael Johnson, the Ultimate Fighter winner.
Nice.
So this guy's a well-known name for sure. Paul Sass, scary lad, that's for sure.
That's for sure.
Moving on, Lyle, what is the next fight?
All right, actually, I'm again stoked for this fight. I don't think a lot of people know these fighters as well. I mean, so we got Andy Ogo coming up against Josh Grisby. Andy Ogo, old tough fighter. He was a British guy. Wasn't one of the British seasons, but he was one of the British fighters on a season, and I was cheering for him. But he had the inevitable British curse and didn't have the greatest ground game, and that's how he ended up going out. But he's fighting Josh Grisby, who was supposed to fight Jose Aldo, fought some other Western fighter, and got his ass kicked.
Yeah, pretty much lost every time since.
So I'm cheering for Andy Ogo in this fight. He's an awesome, he's a good kickboxer. He's got a lot of height. He's a good little guy.
Grant?
Yeah, Andy Ogo for sure.
Grisby,
just because you like him?
Yeah.
Gotta pick someone.
Who? Yeah. I'll sleep fine after that fight, no matter what. Watson versus Nedakov.
So Nedakov is
12-0.
Is the
undefeated.
Another undefeated.
He's undefeated.
Yes.
Holy shit.
Oh, I thought for sure.
He's springing up all over the place.
I mixed his name up with someone else because I thought for sure he was the guy that got knocked out by Stephen Wonderboy Thompson.
No, that guy's no longer in the UFC.
Yeah, he just looks like
he was
him,
brought into the UFC for one reason.
To get knocked the fuck out.
Tom Watson?
Oh, Tom Watson. He's a hell of a fighter, too. I mean, he's not going to be cream of the crop ever, but...
Is he British? I believe he is. With a name like Watson.
Well, yeah, it sounds
elementary,
British.
my dear Watson.
I don't have his profile.
Watson. All right. Doesn't matter. Who are you taking?
I'm taking,
you gotta go with the undefeated.
Is undefeated, so yeah.
And it sounds like he's Russian.
Yeah, he sounds like a beast.
Yes.
What do we got next? We got Vaughn and Lee?
Yeah.
Well, that one obviously you got to go with Vaughn and Lee because I've never seen any of Tezuka's fights.
Okay, so we're getting pretty low on an undercard of a free UFC on FX card. So a lot of these fighters could be making their UFC debut.
So what are you saying?
I think we should move on topic. We've been on 30 minutes on this. Fight announcements that have happened recently. Before we get into that, I want to bring up a name. He is a champion of Cage Warriors in the UK. Not just a champion, but he is two-time champion. He's also the champion of 155 and 145. Showed Lyle this guy a little while ago. Grant, I don't know if you've seen this guy's highlight video, but he was the talk of the town when he was fighting for his second title in Cage Warriors.
What's his name?
His name's Conor McGregor. Irish fighter.
Oh.
Yes.
I've heard of him.
Talk of the town. He's going to fight for a second title in Cage Warriors, and he comes out with one of the most spectacular knockouts I've ever seen. Matrixed out of the way of a punch, like very similar to Chris Weidman, and comes in with this awesome cross, knocks the guy out. This guy is such an exciting fighter. We've got his highlight video on our Facebook. You got to check it out. The way the highlight video goes, like the first 2 minutes are his early fights. You just get to see him warming up. Wait till you see him right now. This is what the UFC has just signed. This guy spinning back kicks. He's doing everything. He's going to be a danger in the 145 division. Has signed on. Will fight on the Sweden card. Opponent not yet named. Conor.
That's exciting. Yeah,
McGregor.
Watching his highlights video, I think there was a fight of his a year or so back that we caught. Might have been like afterwards, caught it on YouTube or something we were watching. I remember watching him and him just like he reminded me of like Vonderlei at times when he would just explode on a fighter with his stand up. And it was just, he just dominate. And he's throwing these weird combos like in the highlight video. If you give it a watch on our Facebook wall there, there's a couple times like he'll throw like these weird like overhand right kind of uppercut jab thingy, and
sometimes it looks like they're fast forwarding the highlight video, but it's just in real time.
Yeah, it's the guy's a monster.
He's gonna be one of the most exciting featherweights by far. I can't wait for him to make his debut. But moving on, fights that have been made recently. Let's start with Ryan Couture against Ross Pearson. Now, there's been some Ryan Couture drama because he always has his father, Randy Couture, corner him. But now Randy and Dana White are fighting because Randy signed a deal with Bellator. They probably threw him a whack load of cash. Dana White not too happy. It seems like Dana White's throwing a little bit of a hissy fit on this one. I don't know if you guys agree with me. But and now he's saying Randy Couture can't even buy a ticket to his event, let alone corner his son. That's very childish of yourself, Dana White.
That's bullshit.
I find it's
like,
so
get over
strange.
it.
Like he's obviously he's always a very strongly worded and strongly opinioned man, but every once in a while he comes up with stuff like this, and it's just like, really?
Yeah. If you I know a lot of people don't have respect for Dana White. Our family, us three, have definitely always loved Dana White. He's a hilarious character, and he does what's best for the sport. But this is just stupid.
Yeah, it's just unnecessary. I mean, if his son, he's coaching his son, okay, and his son's just starting off in the UFC. It's his big first fight, and not only that, like if your father has been your trainer forever, and your trainer is one of the greatest
in the UFC, a Hall of Fame.
Yeah,
you can't corner someone, and he's in the UFC Hall of Fame.
You're honestly, because of some stupid personal grudge, you're shooting down someone else's potential
You're hurting
career.
Ryan Couture as well. And he's stepping in the octagon against Ross Pearson. This is a huge fight for him.
Yeah, that is a tall order for Ryan Couture to fill out because Ross Pearson, he might have been beaten by Cub Swanson there, but he is no slouch at 155, and
he looks better at 155
lighter
than at 145. Definitely.
Yeah.
That's on UFC Fuel 9. Also signed on that card, Matt Metronome versus Phil DeFries. Another very exciting fight. Metronome coming off of that knockout loss to Roy Big Country Nelson. So I got to give it to him. Phil DeFries, very good fighter. This fight was actually supposed to happen a long time ago, but Matt Metronome pulled out to fight Rory McDonald. Not Rory McDonald. But I just said his name.
Rory Mark.
No, Big Country.
What? Oh, sorry.
Roy Nelson.
Roy Nelson. Yeah, I said Rory McDonald.
You got
Anyway,
me all confused with Rory.
there's too many fighters. Phil DeFries. You got to give it to Metronome. Metronome's just seems like he's
Yeah.
coming along as a real good fighter. Should not be wearing Vale Tudos, though. No heavyweight should. Unless your name is Fedor. All right, leave those for the featherweights. But moving on. Also, fight signed this week. Flyweight belt up for grabs. Now, everything we talked about, we thought it was going to be like, 4 fighters always switching out. It was going to be Benavidez versus Demetrius Johnson or Ian McCall or Dobson. The UFC throws a snake in our wrench, right? A wrench.
A snake and a wrench.
Too
Too many snakes at the old Cobra Den.
Okay, we're gonna make a shirt that says "Keep calm and throw a snake in a wrench."
Yeah.
So they throw us John Morga or Morgaga or Moraga. I don't even know how to pronounce this guy's name because I'm partly retarded. But
are you saying Hussier Formiga?
No, you're completely wrong on that one.
Who are you reading?
I'm reading Demetrius Johnson versus John Moragaga.
And just tossing them random people these days.
Tossing around random syllables.
Well, that's what I'm doing. But this guy, a top 10 flyweight. I didn't even know the UFC had 10 flyweights until I saw that their top 10 list. This John guy taking on Demetrius Johnson. He's 2-0 in the UFC, 13-1 in MMA for the flyweight championship on the TUF 17 finale. That fight was made. Obviously, we got to go with Demetrius Johnson. I can't even say the other guy's name.
Yeah, the flyweight division hasn't been well developed enough yet to really say, like, if it's not going to be one of those top 4 guys. I mean, everyone thought Ian McCall was the number 1 guy forever. PJ will still
Uncle
argue
Creepy
it.
is the best.
He'll still argue it, but
Joseph Benavidez wrote Ian McCall a poem. Did you know that? Ian McCall posted that today.
For real?
I swear to God, yeah. Because Ian McCall was a little upset about his loss.
Oh.
Yeah, so Joseph Benavidez wrote him a poem.
That's actually hilarious.
Yeah. Also signed to that card, that TUF 17 finale, which is looking pretty stacked. Misha Tate versus Kat Zinganoff half. Why are they doing this to me?
They
should just keep everyone's name as Silva.
You like calling the fight better when it was Mike McDonald.
Yeah.
Anyways, second UFC bantamweight women's fight. That's going down on TUF 17. Misha Tate looking for a rematch against Honda Hoosie, and this Kat Zinganoff girl. Again, the bantamweight division for the women haven't really been established. There's a lot of fighters that we don't know their name. We have to in-depth this, and we will when it comes closer to the TUF 17 finale. Correct, lads?
Indeed.
Correctamundo.
Rumor. This one not an announcement, but we're going to talk about it because it's awesome. Our favorite, Mauricio Shogun Rua.
Time for lunch.
It's exciting news on his part. He just signed a new deal with Venom. Upsetting is we won't get to see him in little white bad boy shorts anymore, but maybe Venom will make him little white Venom shorts. They're announcing that he could be fighting Little Nog 2. And their first fight in Pride, one of the best Pride fights ever.
That was awesome. For anybody who's never seen
fight.
that, do yourself a favor and go to YouTube and check it out, or whatever you can to check it out, because it's a phenomenal fight.
But the two differences that's happened since that fight is Shogun's been a champion. He's fought champions, and he looked great. Little Nog fought Tito Ortiz, looked okay. Fought some other guys, looked okay. Fought Rashad Evans, didn't look very good, but Rashad looked worse.
Yeah.
That's the big point. So
hopefully this is Shogun's coming back around part.
Yeah, Shogun's having a little stretch of bad luck here too.
Well, he knocked out Vera, right?
But,
All
right. It doesn't matter what Shogun does, we'll still love him.
That's right.
Again, another fight on UFC Fox, UFC 157 that was in a couple of weeks. Injury bug, stroke. They moved Chad Mendes to UFC on Fox 7 and gave him a much more exciting fight.
Very exciting fight.
Lyle, your favorite.
One of my favorites. Everyone hates on him, but they tossed him Clay Guida.
Mm-hmm.
And that is an awesome fight. Clay Guida just recently dropping down to the 145 division. He did an all-right performance, came away with, did what he had to, and coming up against another wrestler that's another striker, and I think that's awesome. I think that's finally what we need to see out of Clay Guida. We've been giving him a bunch of people that don't work well for his style, and I think in this fight we're going to see a good little brawl.
Yeah, maybe.
I'm not on the Chad Mendes train yet.
I don't know. I just remember Clay Guida versus Gray Maynard, and those are two top level wrestlers, both with striking, and I don't know.
No, I don't like Gray Maynard though. I don't feel like Gray Maynard really engages someone.
Yeah, I you know what? I was rewatching that fight not too long ago, and I have to stick with my original opinion on the fight. I think that
Guida won.
Guida won the fight.
Yeah, I agree.
Everyone was a hell of a lot too hard on Guida for the fight.
No, totally.
He implemented a great game plan. He avoided all heavy, powerful hits. He landed a bunch of his own. Yeah, I think that because the fans were booing, the judges and the refs made it sound worse.
Than it was, yeah.
Than it actually was. Like if you turn the sound off and watch that, sure, there's not, it's not. You're not watching Leonard Garcia fighting in there, so you don't. I know Clay Guida puts on exciting fights sometimes, but it's not going to happen every time. And if he's not delivering a really exciting fight, give him a little bit of a break. It's still, he pulled away a good victory there. He got screwed out of the victory, but he pulled away a good fight there.
Clay Guida gave us the most exciting UFC fight of all time against Diego Sanchez. So it doesn't matter what Guida does. He could be the most boring fighter in the world. He could actually step in the cage, lie down, and then as soon as the bell rang, hop over the cage and run away, and I'd still cheer for him.
Yeah.
I think that's...
I might stop cheering for him then.
That's the definition of running away right there. Another 2 fights announced recently, yesterday, to be exact, and I saw these on Facebook, and it was the stupidest thing I've ever heard. First of all, Dana White is in Ireland, right? Partying it up. And the rumors come out saying Dana White was drunk in Ireland. Well, duh. Everyone's drunk in Ireland. And spilt the beans on Cain Velasquez versus Bigfoot number 2 and Overeem versus JDS both for UFC 160. Now, I'm seeing this on, reported on, MMA sites going, this is the stupidest thing in the world. We're actually going to use this as a source. Dana White was drunk and spilt the beans to some idiot.
Yeah, I'm sure.
But then they confirmed the fight, so yeah. I've put my foot in my mouth there.
Then today at the press conference, someone actually brought that up.
Yeah.
And he actually talked about it, and he was like, listen, I just got surgery a little bit ago. I'm on heavy medication. He was like, I wasn't drinking. I wasn't even drunk. But he's like,
he had his ear removed and restitched on.
Yeah. But he's I think people thought he was drunk because he had offered to buy a bunch of people drinks at the end of a vlog, because he got nominated for like an award or something. But anyway, he did say, he was making the argument that when a fighter gets beaten, decimated, if you will, by a champion, and if he comes back, the number 2 guy, if he goes and decimates that guy, I mean, yeah, he gets a rematch.
I guess so. Junior Dos Santos beat Cain Velasquez, in a minute, and then, it was like 25 minutes of Cain Velasquez doing whatever he wanted to Junior Dos Santos. This could be the same situation, but that Cain Velasquez we saw against Bigfoot the first time was very scary, and I feel like that's going to be the same reason because, the last 2 fights where Bigfoot has won, it seems like his opponents are kind of taking advantage of him, like, underestimating him, and then Bigfoot's like, I'm knocking you out.
Yeah.
Travis Brown was being showboaty, Overeem was being showboaty. Cain Velasquez isn't going to be showboaty, and Bigfoot's not going to get that chance.
Yeah, and Cain's still, he's just picking up more momentum, It's like, he seems like one of those fighters that, after he lost to Junior, he was just like, all right, time to kick it into overdrive. And then just started like snapping necks. I bet we see him in the championship throne for a while to come.
Definitely, if he's fighting guys like Antonio Silva, I got to give it to him.
Yeah,
100% on this one.
I don't see the fight going much differently. I mean, imagine it'll stay on the feet a bit longer. It'll go back and forth. But that's the other thing too, is a lot of Antonio's big victories are big name fighters that he's been the huge underdog. He comes in and everyone's like, Antonio Silva's going to get the crap beaten out of him, and I think it gets to the fighter's head, and the fighter kind of showboats and and then Antonio gets his Tim Bosch moment. But then I don't think that's ever going to happen with Cain Velasquez. Cain Velasquez is not going to be let off. He's not going to showboat.
Yeah, his ethics just way too high. You can tell that like he puts his everything into it, and he's just not so silly as to risk it by being cocky or showmanship.
He reminds me of like an angrier George St. Pierre.
Yeah, somehow. Yeah, definitely.
Overeem versus JDS. Who we got?
JDS, yeah.
JDS.
Both very technical strikers, but
Yeah, I think Overeem's kind of been overhyped and everything. Here's the thing, though. Overeem goes to kickboxing. He does so well. They have to change the rules. We've talked about this before. The guy just got phenomenal striking, out of this world. And he just got knocked out. And the reason he got knocked out is he acted like a goof. Right? Like an absolute goof. And so now that he's gonna hopefully take that and understand that he's got to take his career a hell of a lot more seriously. He can't be doping himself up. He can't be showboating. He's not Anderson Silva. We see an Alistair Overeem that actually goes in, puts in a really hard training camp, comes in for JDS. You bring it back to the science of you pit a boxer against a kickboxer, a Thai guy. Kickboxer wins.
You think so?
I think if we see an Alistair Overeem in top form, yeah.
All right, so we got 2 JDS, 1 Alistair Overeem. Moving on, just announced mere seconds ago. Stephen Wonderboy Thompson, we brought him up earlier today, signed on to fight Amir Sadal at UFC 160.
That is an exciting.
Just announced, just threw it on Facebook while I was here. Yeah,
there you go.
Moving on. We're done talking about fights. We're going to talk about fighters. UFC Top 10 has come out. Interesting. Very interesting. The UFC now has a list for top 10 fighters. So who they think is number 1, right? Or, if you have a question about, why this fighter is getting a certain title shot, it's all in their UFC rankings. They also came out for a pound-for-pound ranking system, which I kind of have to disagree with. I don't like this idea. Anderson Silva at number 1. Duh. John Jones at number 2. Understandable. 3, surprising to me, was George St. Pierre. Yes, I think George St. Pierre is one of the best fighters in the world, but Jose Aldo's...
Yeah, he's on a tear.
Yeah, Jose Aldo's a scary lad.
I think that the pound-for-pound list is just stupid, and there's no point in ever having a pound-for-pound list.
You're 100% correct. It's a what-if list.
But if you are going to have a pound-for-pound list, at least set a defined bit of rules, because clearly a lot of what the rules are like seniority is in there a little bit, how long you've been around, this and that. I will still argue, and I'll argue it forever until John Jones has as many or more fights than George St. Pierre. JSP is the number 2 pound-for-pound fighter in the world, hands down. He's never, ever, ever, he's had 2 fights where he's been defeated, and other than that, when have we been worried about George St. Pierre losing? He got head kicked.
John Jones, technically, other than his loss against Matt Hamill, has never been defeated. Never looked bad. Got punched by Lauda 1 time.
Okay, but how many fights in comparison? I mean, look the reason
stacking up on the fights.
The reason that George St. Pierre, I think they don't look at him as high of a fighter is because he's not finishing the fights. But I think that's ridiculous because from round 1 to round 5, he's absolute domination. And then 2, he's dominated his weight class so much that it seems like the fighters that he's fighting aren't, it's just this guy. Oh, it's just that guy. Where it's like Jones, it's like, but he fought this guy. And he got fought. Well, George St. Pierre, if he was that big and he was fighting those guys too, he'd be kicking their asses too.
Agreed. I think Jose Aldo, though, is
he should be up there for sure.
Yeah. Ben Henderson at number 5. Don't mind that. But the thing is, it's who's at number 6 that I think they should have switched it to Rue because Cain Velasquez is at number 6.
What?
Yeah, I think Cain Velasquez, you got to give him a little bit higher than Ben Henderson.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Ben Henderson is a scary individual, but Cain Velasquez is just a little bit more scary. Cruz at 7. Screw you, UFC. That's not right. Cruz sucks. Cruz
is a good fighter.
No,
he just hasn't fought in a long time.
People just don't know. I don't know. Cruz's style is so different. They don't understand it yet. They're gonna figure it out.
That's the same thing with Jones, though.
They're gonna figure it out. So what? They're gonna figure it out. They figured out Vonderlays. Demetrius Johnson at number 8. Frankie Edgar at number 9. Dan Henderson at number 10. Okay, let's go to flyweight. This proves that the UFC has 10 flyweight fighters. Number 1 champion, Demetrius Johnson.
Yep.
2, so number 1 on their list, but number 2 fighter, Benavidez. So why didn't he get the title shot at UFC? You answer me. Number 2, John Dodson. 3, Mr. Creepy. Number 4 is this John Moragaga.
I'm wondering.
However you say his name.
I'm wondering if it's a PR move, even like just trying to be. It gives this this fighter that we've never heard a whole lot about. Gives him a lot more notoriety. He's getting a title fight, and it's going to be main card kind of thing. All right, we know who this guy is now. And on top of that, if he's not the greatest fighter at flyweight, we're also going to get to see Demetrius Johnson showcase being the champion. I think it's like it's one of those setup fights.
I guess so. Bantamweight, moving on. Dominic Cruz, champ. Number 1, interim champ, Hannah Brow.
Number 3, Michael McDonald.
Number 4,
Pickett?
or Faber. 4 is, because they don't count the champion on the list. He's 0.
Oh,
so this is screwing me up. Pickett is 5, Weiland's 2. 4, shit. Sorry.
Okay, that makes sense.
God, I'm just looking at this and I'm screwing it up. Brian Bowes, 6. 7, Rafael Alsugianto. Yeah, that's how I'm saying his name.
It's a Sun Sao.
Thank you. 8, Scott Jorgensen. 9, Mike Easton. 10, Ivan Menjivar, future bantamweight champ. Ivan Menjivar.
You figure?
Yeah.
I disagree.
That guy's the man. He is the man.
All right, moving forward.
All right, featherweight. Jose Aldo, number 1 or 0.
Number 0 will never be beaten.
Champion, number 1, is Jose. Jesus Christ. Chad Mendez. Number 2, Ricardo Lamas. Interesting. He just beat Eric Coach.
Coke was supposed to fight for the title, and I mean, he really beat the hell out of Coke.
Number 3, the Korean Zombie. Yes, bring him up every podcast. We will. That'll be our thing. Zombie fans, tune into the Cobra Den. We're going to call this Zombie Den. Change it the name. Reprint the shirts.
We're not.
Hold the press. Number 4, Frankie Edgar.
I don't even know if you.
He's never won a fight in featherweight.
Yeah.
I got it. I like him on the list.
Shenanigans.
Though. Dennis Sievert, number 5. Cub Swanson at number 6. This is what I'm loving about the UFC. Number 7, Dustin Poirier. So they have 6 versus 7. Love that.
That's
awesome.
good.
Love that. 8, Nick Lentz. Mike Dolce's favorite. Mike Dolce has come on and said that Nick Lentz can beat every fucking featherweight.
Really?
I believe every word that Mike Dolce says.
I don't, but
I don't think this is good. I don't think Nick Lentz can, but I have to believe Mike Dolce. I'm a big fan of Mike Dolce.
Fair enough.
Name drop. Eric Coach, number 9. Number 10. Who, Lyle? Who?
Who's at number 10?
Clay
the Carpenter.
the Jesus Carpenter.
Yeah. Oh, Clay Guida.
Number 1, lightweight. Sorry, we got 8 minutes left, so
We got 8
rushing
minutes.
through
We
this.
gotta go the strike. All right. So we got Ben Anderson number 1. We're gonna have who? We gonna have at number 2.
Gilbert Melendez,
All right,
Strike Force
he's in the
champ. I gotta
UFC
give it to him. Yeah, Pettis number 2. I like that.
Yeah.
Gray Maynard number 3. Nate Diaz,
Number 4.
Jim Miller,
Fair enough.
Cowboy at number 6.
All right.
7, TJ Grant.
Oh man.
Yeah, he's a beast, eh? He's been a Muay Thai wrecking machine his last fight.
8, Rafael Dos Anjos.
Dos Anjos.
All right. Number 9, Joe Lozon.
Oh, Lozon's still in the top 10.
Gotta call shenanigans. I think Lozon should be higher. I think he's one of the best lightweights there is.
I think if lightweight only had 1 round, then yes.
Damn you. And Nabal Nurmagomedov, that Sambo asshole that just beat Thiago Tavares, who wore that Sambo shirt and fought like a bum, who tested positive. Guys on roids can't even make it into the first minute.
Don't do drugs, friends.
Yes. Someone's got to teach us Russian a lesson and leg lock him. Choke him out with a gi.
Yeah, darn him for not taking drugs.
Welterweight. The true list, because this is what I like to see, but it didn't happen. George St. Pierre, number 1. Number 2 on the list.
Johnny Hendricks.
And that's the way the fight should have went. It should not have went to Nick Diaz.
I disagree.
No. Number 2, Carlos Condit.
Really?
Number 3, Carlos Condit on the list. This UFC list is screwing me up. Just rank George as number 1, please. Number 4, Rory McDonald. I missed Nick Diaz. Nick Diaz was ahead of Rory. Number 5.
Where are you at, PJ?
Yeah. Number 5 is my boy, Damian Maia.
Nice. I'm glad to see him up in the list there.
What do you guys think of a Damian Maia Rory McDonald fight? One Rory destroys Carlos Condit. Rory's not getting a title shot. Damian Maia's got to get one more fight in him before he gets a title shot.
I don't think he gets Rory, but if that fight happens, I'm disappointed.
Hypothetically, why?
Because
That's number 4 versus number 5.
Because I think that Rory's higher than that, and I also think that that's just like derailing one of 2 potentially good fighters at welter right now. Like, let him get another fight in each, probably.
Interesting matchup, though.
Rory, I think, is the better fighter all around.
Yeah.
You shut your mouth.
Well, he is.
He's a better striker.
He's a better fighter, all-around fighter than Damian Maia.
He's a better striker.
But where it hits the floor, I mean, nobody's got as good jiu-jitsu as you.
Nobody. Talk to John Fitch.
I'm still going to go
I'm
for
not
Rory.
impressed. All right. I just think that's an interesting fight. One Rory beats Carlos Condit. Jake Ellenberger, number 6. Number 7, Martin Kampmann. Number 8, Josh Koscheck. Number 9, John Fitch. Number 10, Tarek Safadine. The scary Thai guy who just beat up fucking that guy's leg. Nate Marquardt. Why am I so bad with names today? I've had 2 energy drinks. I should be on top of things.
You need at least 4.
Yeah.
That is the recommended doctor dosage.
Middleweight. No question about Anderson
Grant's
Silva.
not a doctor.
Number 1 on the list of challengers.
Oh,
Chris.
yeah.
Why? He needs to shut his mouth and fight someone. He keeps talking about title fights. How about you
Well, that's because he
get
wants to
more
fight
than
Anderson
9 fights?
Silva.
Yeah, he beat Mark Muniz. He beat Damian Maia, but you got to fight someone. Shut up and fight someone.
Yeah.
You haven't fought since last May. Shut up and fight someone. Number 2, Vitor Belfort, who is rumored to fight Luke Rockhold, who's number 7 on the list.
Really? I didn't actually hear them.
Yeah, in Brazil. I like that. I like that.
That'll be a good fight.
Vito.
Number 3, Michael.
Mark Bisping.
The Count Bisping. Number 4, Yoshinin Okami. Number 5, Mark Munoz. Number 6, Constance Filipino. Number 7, Luke Rockhold. Number 8, Hector Lombard. Number 9, Alan Belcher. Jesus Christ. Number 10, Tim Bosch. What? Well, I think you should be reading this list. Let's move to light heavyweight. John Jones.
Oh, light heavyweight with John Jones at the top. Number 2 is
Dan Henderson. Now, this is what I'm calling shenanigans. They announced that if Alexander Gustafsson beats Gregory Mousasi, Alexander Gustafsson at number 3, taking on number 10, Gregory Mousasi. Excellent fight. They said Gustafsson gets the title shot. I have to call shenanigans because we have the number 1 guy taking on the number 2 guy on the UFC list. Next weekend, Dan Henderson taking on Lyoto Machida. That winner should get a title shot, and they're saying that they aren't.
I disagree. I mean, I with their list, if we're going to go by their list, then yes, I agree with you, but I think
Why are they having this list if they're not going to go by it?
Yeah,
No, Dan Henderson should have a title shot.
Well, Dan Henderson should have never even been in the title picture in the first place, I think.
He beat Shogun.
Yeah, but he
beat
actually,
Fedor.
Did anyone
Did
watch
he?
that? Did anyone watch that Shogun fight and actually score it? Because Shogun won that fight.
Yeah.
I thought it was a draw, but he beat Fedor. Okay, if you don't think Dan Henderson should have a fight, you're wrong, because he was Strikeforce champ coming over. They should get a fight. The Gilbert Melendez is.
Safadine was Strikeforce champ coming over. He's not fighting
He's not getting a
George's.
fight, no.
I want Fado.
3, Alexander Gustafsson. Correct, Amundo. 4, Glover Teixeira. Number 5, Nogueira. Number 6, Evans. Number 7, Rua. No. Rua's got to be higher than Evans, because Rua actually looks good when he fights.
Yeah.
He can wear the smallest shorts possible, and I'm happy. 8, Phil Davis. 9, Bader. 10, Mousasi.
Phil Davis.
Mr. Wonderful. Heavyweight, Kane Jr. We're Doom. Cormier.
For Doom, really?
Yeah, Silva. So right there, the number 4 guy's getting the title shot instead of the number 2 guy, but he's currently signed to fight. Nogueira, who's number 7 on the list. 6, Alistair Overeem. 5, Frank Mir. 8, Nelson. 9, Struve. And number 10, Shane Carwin.
Smash.
But yeah.
He's on the list still? He hasn't fought
He
in
hasn't
2
fought
years.
in 2 years.
What's our time looking like?
We should be getting off right now.
We're wrapping her up soon?
Yeah.
Yep.
Because we have trouble getting these on the internet as they are. But aside this, we all disagree with this UFC ranking. We think it's stupid. I think we agreed on that, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think
It's wrong.
it's
The
not
lists
confusing,
are
wrong.
wrong. And they're having 60 media people vote on this. Well, no, it should be 61, and you should count the Cobra Den.
The Cobra
The Cobra Den is a media
counts as
outlet.
Yeah.
3
Print the
votes.
shirts.
Probably.
Keep calm and listen
Hey.
to the Cobra Den.
Cobra Den for voting for top 10 lists.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hashtag.
I don't know. Then we'll just
Twitter.
have Shogun at number 1 all the time. The one thing
every
that's coming
weight
out of this
division.
podcast will be like Shogun and the Korean Zombie.
George St. Pierre will be the number one in every weight
Yeah.
class.
Cyborg Santos leaving Zuffa. Asked for release. Tito Ortiz, her manager. Smart move right there. Fucking dumbass. Asked for release because she will not make 135. She's being stupid. Mike Dolce says he will sign her for free. Be her nutrition guide. She can make 135, no problem. She won't do it. She's leaving the UFC. This is going to be a career move for her. She's going to go into Invicta. That woman's
you
fight.
know,
No one's ever going to give her, Ronda Rousey's going to be classified as pound for pound woman's best fighter in the world forever now because Cyborg's leaving. Cyborg has to leave. Rousey's got the belt. Fighter.
I think
Sorry, Graham.
she should have done what she always should have done, and her and Brett Rogers should finally fight. And they should just sign an agreement. And
I got to give that one to Brett. But
I don't know. I don't know.
No, but, hey, I think that, you know what, we should have known a long time ago that her career was going downhill. Not only when we figured out that she was doing steroids for a while, but then when we figured out that she signed Tito Ortiz as a manager.
That's the stupidest thing I've ever heard.
Yeah, clearly her head's not in the right place, and she's just going downwards, I think.
Ultimate Fighter.
Ultimate Fighter. We're going to do a really quick one on the Ultimate Fighter from last night, entirely because it wasn't that interesting. There's a little bit, they tried to hype up a little bit of drama, and it wasn't any drama.
It was boring as shit.
Yeah, one guy woke up the other guy. The guy was a crybaby, whined about it. The same thing happens in all Ultimate Fighters. There was a Kevin Casey fighting though, and he grew up training and being best friends with Hawkson Gracie, who is the deceased son of Hickson Gracie. And so he was supposed to be this big, awesome grappler coming to the show. And turns out he's really good at recovering guard, but he doesn't like leaving guard after that.
Doesn't like doing much of anything
Or submitting,
yeah.
or
After,
just likes holding on.
After
I don't think he understands that in MMA, when you're on the bottom and just holding on, you'll lose your fight.
Mm-hmm.
yeah, and I was kind of hoping for a little more going into that fight. With the the build up during the stare down, the big
the middle finger.
Yeah,
and
the big
everything.
middle finger. Yeah, but it's like, oh no.
No, it was the first round was just clinch grappling on the fence back and forth. Second round, Kevin Casey got taken down.
Okay, moving on. Sorry, we got to close this off, but we did drop the ball a little bit, and that is, we said rumored Luke Rockhold to take on Vitor Belfort in Brazil. As of 9:15 this morning, it was confirmed that in Brazil they're going to headline. So
Awesome.
we dropped the ball. Someone let us know on Facebook. It was my cousin Dustin. We're sorry. We posted about Wonder Boy versus Amir Sadal. We didn't post about the actual important fight, Vitor Belfort. We dropped the ball. Cobra Den down.
Cobra Den down.
All right, thanks all for tuning in. Check us out on Facebook, Twitter at the Cobra Den. Also, check us out on iTunes probably in a week from now, maybe 2 weeks. Maybe in time for Easter. This episode 3 will be on iTunes. They didn't even upload our picture, but last one they didn't say we were explicit, which is nice. So children, you can listen to it.
But we are explicit though.
Yeah,
Maybe that one. Yeah,
we drop it every so often.
every now and then. I think we were pretty tame tonight, and
I drop the F every couple of I want to be explicit.
How many-
freedom of
You said the
speech.
fuck word a bunch of times.
Yeah. Stitcher Radio, support them, favorite us because they're awesome. I like Stitcher Radio. I listen to all my podcasts on there, and we're on there. This will be live on Stitcher Radio tomorrow.
Awesome. Well, we should stop self-promoting, and you guys should have an awesome night.
Yes. Good night.
Thank
Good night,
you.
all.